Today we're going to go over 5 different exercises that have the potential to help strengthen the core, helping the spine be more stable and also reduce the chance of injury. Now, reminder, the spine is capable of a lot of different motions, being flexion, extension, and also rotation. Most exercises are going to be based around anti-rotation and helping the muscles around the spine to actually fight against certain movements. So, for example of that would be a Deadbug, which we'll get to. However, we first need to unlock the spine's ability to move properly. One of the best motions we can do to help that is increasing the thoracic spine's ability to twist. How we do that is Quadruple Tspine. This exercise, anytime we're in a quadrupt, just simply means we're going to go on our hands and knees. So we go quadrupt, then we're going to place one hand back behind the head, and we're going to press the floor away with our other arm while we drop the elbow to the wrist and rotate it up towards the ceiling. So we're going to get this nice rotation through the thoracic spine. Okay, let's show that from the front. So we can do this about 8 to 12 times on each side for 2 to 3 rounds. That's really going to help warm up the back, loosen up the back, whatever the intent is. If we're trying to gain more mobility, that's great. If we're trying to warm up for a workout, that's also very good. Next thing we're going to focus on is oblique dips. So this is a common exercise that can be seen being done in the gym. A lot of people sometimes will hold a weight, like such weight, and simply just lean back and forth. However, when we do that, we get a lot of free motion in the hips, and sometimes we start to just push our hips out to the side. So we're going to go in a split stance or a half kneeling. For today, we're going to do a half kneel. So when we're in the half kneel, one knee down, one knee up. Weight's going to go to the opposite side, whichever knee is down, because that side is open for the oblique to be able to dip over. This is also a great QL exercise, so that quadratus lumborum. So it's going to help stabilize and balance the spine left to right. So we have our weight, and then we're focusing on all of our motion coming through the spine, left to right. So you should feel one compartment open up, while the other side, the rib cage and the pelvis, are actually almost touching each other. Once again, we can do that for about 10 to 12 on each side, 2 to 3 rounds. Really good way to help strengthen up the oblique muscles, internal and external obliques, along with that QL. Third exercise is going to be the Jefferson Curl. Jefferson Curl is everything that we don't want to do when we're doing a heavy deadlift, but everything we want to do when we're trying to gain mobility of the vertebrae and give our body an opportunity to actually move through each and every vertebrae. So with a weight or without a weight, I'm going to use a weights today. We start from the upright standing position. And we start by first actually at the C1, the atlas joint, and then we move down through our vertebrae as we bend over. So, for example, I'm going to drop my head first. Next is going to be my thoracic spine that's going to bend, and then everything else is going to bend all the way down. So that gives me that rounding all the way through. It's a big old stretch. And then nice and slowly, I'm going to send that in reverse and feel each and every vertebrae restack themselves. So once again, bending down, each vertebrae is opening up and flexing one at a time. And then each vertebrae is going to go into extension one at a time as well. So, like I said, that can be done with weight or without weight. This one we probably want to go a little bit less rep counts, probably something in the store of 4 to 6. Still for the 2-3 rounds, but since this is a nice and controlled motion, 4 to 6 repetitions is going to be a little more appropriate because we want to take our time. We don't want to feel rushed. And sometimes when we do higher rep ranges for exercises like that, we can get in a little bit of a hurry, okay? So now we're gonna focus on a stretch rather than the warm-up exercises or mobility exercises. Sometimes stretching can be really helpful. So for the QL, we're gonna do a static stretch. How we're gonna do this is we're gonna go crisscross on the floor. You can't sit crisscross comfortably. There's other ways to do this. We can just sit in a chair simply to be able to do this as well. Sitting crisscross just kind of locks the hips in, which allows us to pull from them a little bit. So we're gonna go opposite hand to opposite knee. So I got my left hand on my right knee. And then I'm going to twist ever so slightly. So if I'm going from about a 12 o'clock chest position, I am opening up to about 2 o'clock, not quite the 3 o'clock yet. And then I'm gonna reach and dip my torso and reach up towards the ceiling, which as you can see is gonna open up and elongate everything on that side. So we're gonna stretch that QL. Sometimes we can feel that a little bit in the glute too, or even the lat, depending upon the person and what muscles are tight. So this is a static stretching, so we're holding position. When we're stretching, what we're really looking for is our sensation to go from, call it a 8 out of 10 sensation to it dampening down to a 6 out of 10. So we know that we got a little bit of a release of tension, so we can either in the stretch, or we can go a little bit deeper into the stretch. Really depends on time constraints and what you're really looking for. But this has a QL stretch, oblique stretch, lat, and like I said, even a little bit of glute stretch depending upon the person. Really good one. Last exercise is the dead bug. So, dead bugs are a great exercise for anti-rotation, developing the transverse abdominis, the innermost muscle of the core, and also coordination. So for starters, we're going to start with an isometric dead bug, which we're taking a quadruped position and we're just flipping it onto the back. So knees are up towards the ceiling, hands are also going to go up to the ceiling. You can see I'm creating this box position in here. Meanwhile, I am creating a roughly 90-degree bend in the knee, 90-degree bend in the ankle, so you can see all these angles going through here. If I'm going to do this isometrically, I'm going to focus on creating tension in the core, which would mean pressing upwards with my belly button, while also pressing downwards into the floor, into the small of my back, creating the tension through that transverse abdominis and bracing. So once we can learn how to brace and we can do those isometric for, say, 3 sets of 45 seconds, 3 sets of a minute, we start to move in that position. So alternating from it and reaching one leg out while reaching the other arm. Like so. So that would be the next step in the dead bug. Once again, working with 10 to 12 reps on each side for 2 to 3 rounds. Anti-rotation, so we're learning how to prevent rotation, but also strengthen the muscles that would help us also move in rotation. So mobilizing the spine while also strengthening the muscles that can keep it from moving too much is key, because we want freedom of movement, but we also want to make sure that we can prevent movement to keep ourselves safe. So with all these 5 coming together, we're getting some mobility, some stretching, some strengthening of the spine, of the core. This isn't just a core routine being building up, the aesthetics or anything of that sort, but it's a very functional routine that we can put together to help our spine be healthier, move better, and be stronger.